If the LinkedIn message you're sending looks more like an essay than a text message, you're probably not sending the right message. So in today's video, I'm gonna be walking you through things you absolutely should keep in mind when reaching out to people on LinkedIn. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Hayles, and this is Hayles Consulting, a business dedicated to helping you gain confidence and clarity in your career. And today we are talking about reaching out to people on LinkedIn. Before you reach out to someone on LinkedIn, you're probably in your own head like, are they gonna like me? Do they think I'm weird? Is this even smart for me to do? Like, so many questions. And the honest truth is that you just have to take ownership of your career and reach out to someone, no matter how nerve-wracking it is, how weird you think they are gonna think that you are. It doesn't matter, just reach out to them. Whether or not they answer your message is completely dependent on how flooded their inbox is, and secondly, whether or not they were compelled by your messaging. And obviously you have no control over how flooded someone's LinkedIn inbox is. That's completely dependent on how often they read them or even if they do read them. But how compelling the message is dependent on you. Before you even hit send, read the message and say to yourself, would I read this? Like, would I take the time to sit down and read this lengthy message or this short message? Like, what's in here that's compelling that would make me want to reach out to this person or respond back to this person? If you yourself would not even be intrigued or compelled by the message that you send or trying to send, why would they read it, right? So read it first, have someone else read it, and if they're compelled by it, perfect. If they're not, start from scratch and do it over again. But you have to get over the nerves of reaching out to them and thinking of yourself, like, are they gonna open it? Are they not gonna open it? Because that is not the important matter. The important matter is they will open it if they are compelled by it. So focus on creating a compelling message. Before we even get started here, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can be notified every single time I post a new video. Do not forget to follow Hayles Consulting on Instagram and sign up for weekly emails down in the description box below. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to think about when reaching out to someone on LinkedIn is understand who you're messaging. You can't create a compelling message if you don't know who your audience is. Point blank, period. And the way to really understand what that messaging should look like is to go to that person's profile, read their about page, read their profile, understand what their background looked like and their work experiences. It's so bizarre for you to just write this very general message about how amazing they are and how you want to meet with them versus going to their profile and finding an article that they just recently released or going to their featured section and figuring out, what are they most interested in? Or maybe their school, maybe you two went to the same schools or you know somebody that went to the same schools. Like, find that connection point and understand who it is that you're reaching out to. And something else that's very beneficial when going on that person's profile, sometimes in people's about page, they will straight up say, do not message me. Or they'll say, I don't really have time for 15-minute chats, or I don't have time for 30-minute chats. Or maybe that person has a business and they have sessions where you can sign up with them to have a 15-minute chat. And then you don't have to send them a message. You just sign up with their Calendly link or their Google Calendar, or whatever it is. The moral to the story is that you need to go on that person's profile and understand who you're messaging. Because if you don't, you're going to send a very general message, and a lot of time people receive hundreds of messages per week, and you're just gonna get lost in the pile. When you're messaging a recruiter on LinkedIn, you're reaching out to them to let them know why you're qualified for a job and that you'd like to set up time to learn more about the qualifications. But when you're reaching out to a manager, that person is hiring you to work with them. So you're reaching out to them to let them know that you love X, Y, and Z about them and that you love to work with them and that you want to learn more about the job and what it would look like to partner with that individual. Those are two completely different messages. And the only way you're going to know that is if you go to that person's profile and figure out exactly what it is that you are going to message them about. So as I said, very first thing that you want to do before messaging someone on LinkedIn is to understand who that person is. Your messaging cannot be tailored and it cannot be specific if you don't even know anything about that individual. So go to their profile, read up on them, learn more about their experience, watch in their featured section. Make sure that your messaging is tailored to them. So the second thing that you want to keep in mind with the LinkedIn message is to keep it short and sweet. So the two reasons why you want to keep that LinkedIn message very short is because the first reason, people have very short attention spans and they're only really gonna skim the message. And the second reason being that if you keep it short and sweet, it allows you to really focus on putting in important content only. Nobody's reading an essay at 8 a.m. Nobody's reading an essay at 8 p.m. They're tired. Remember that they're skimming through the message. They're very quickly reading your message. And if your message is 3 paragraphs of you just talking about all your accomplishments in detail that they could easily go to your LinkedIn profile and read, that's not beneficial. So keep in mind, keep it short and sweet for the fact that people's attention spans are so short. And the second thing to remember is that content is key. When you keep it to 2 sentences max or a paragraph max, or maybe like 1 paragraph and a very itsy-bitsy paragraph right after, it allows you to focus on creating very impactful messaging. And you have to remember that a lot of people see their messages through their app and through their email. So when they receive a notification in their app or in their email, they're only seeing the very first sentence. So if you focus on keeping that messaging very short and sweet, that very first sentence is your hit. That's it. That's what's gonna get them to open that message. So keep that in mind. So the third thing you want to focus on when writing that message is making it personal. So the way in which I like to remember this messaging is to make sure that your message doesn't have too many I's and not enough U's. And what I mean by too many I's and not enough U's is that I've seen a lot of LinkedIn messages where the person's reaching out to someone on LinkedIn and they're saying, I did this, I accomplished this, I will do this, and it's just I after I after I after I. And nothing's wrong with, leading with how amazing you are and how excited you are and how accomplished you are. But what about the yous? Don't forget, you're messaging someone about how great they are. You want to meet them, you want to mentor with them, you want to be their mentee, or you want to set up time with them. How are you doing that and all you're doing is talking about yourself? Bring them into the conversation. Make sure you have those yous in there. You are amazing. You are great because you did this. You have inspired me. You whatever, whatever, whatever. After you've written your message, count how many I's you've had in your message versus yous. And when I say you, that's you referring to the other person and telling them about what excited you so much about them to the point where you wanted to reach out to them. And if you have an unbalanced amount of I's versus you, I would highly recommend that you go back to that person's profile and figure out why is it that you're reaching out to them. Use more yous. And it shouldn't be a 50-50 balance because it won't be. Again, this is a very short message, so there may be some more I's and more U's and more U's than I's, but it shouldn't be like a 70-30 mix. There's imbalance somewhere. As much as you don't want to talk so much about yourself, you also don't want to talk too much about them. Because then they're like, oh my God, you're just a teacher's pet, you're just sucking up. Oh, please, relax. You want to talk about how great you are too, because that's also compelling. If someone's reaching out to me and telling me about this incredible accomplishment that they just had, that's awesome. Of course I want to talk to you. Again, for the same reasons that you don't want to spend so much time talking about yourself, you don't want to spend too much time talking about them either. So the fourth thing you want to keep in mind when reaching out to people on LinkedIn is being direct with what you want. As we talked about earlier in this video, you get nervous around the fact of whether or not the person is going to answer your message. And because of that, sometimes we don't want to be too pushy or we don't want to be too direct because we're like, am I being, But the thing is that, again, it's your career. Take ownership of it. You cannot rely on that second message or for that person to answer your message because, again, we don't know if they're going to answer it. There's a possibility that they won't. So why would you wait for the second message to ask for what you want? In that very first message, if your intention is to have them speak at your networking event or your workshop, or even to set up some time to talk to them, or even for them to be your mentor, you need to be explicit about that. Be direct in what you want. And the reason why that's so important is because, again, as I say in a million of my videos, nobody can read your mind. That's the first reason. And the second reason is that you cannot rely on the fact that that messaging or that question or that conversation coming up in the second message, because there's no guarantee that they're going to even answer the first one. So be very direct. Yeah, it's nerve-wracking and yeah, it's scary and yeah, you may feel like you're being pushy, but in your career, you gotta take ownership and just ask for what you want, because if you don't ask, then you're not getting it. And when you're asking for what you want, you have to remember that people can only provide you a yes or a no if you ask them a question or if you provide them with some sort of prompt. If you just say, hey, I loved your profile, you're so amazing. Like, okay, thank you. Like, what do you, like, what do you want me to say? Or what do you want that person to say? You know, ask for something. They're gonna feel so much more inclined to actually answer your message if you're providing some sort of prompts, or if you're asking them a question, or asking them for some time, or asking them to speak on your panel. That is so much more enticing and so much more compelling, and that makes someone want to answer you. And provide options if you can to what you're asking for. And if you're asking to set up time with someone, be realistic about the fact that that person doesn't have a lot of time. So ask for 15 minutes and give them specific dates, or say this week or next week. Like, be very, very specific. Sending very vague messaging or asking questions that are very vague also doesn't help. So be detailed in what you want as well. So the fifth and final thing you want to keep in mind when reaching out to someone on LinkedIn is to be courteous and confident. In my recent cover letter video, which I'll link here or here, I talk about this idea of ending every single document, email, letter, whatever it is that you're sending, ending it with confidence and courtesy. And what I mean by confidence is a lot of times we'll end messaging with if statements. So if you feel inclined to, if you have the time to, which isn't compelling, because then I'm just gonna ask myself, no, I don't have the time. Click delete. A lot of people will do that, but if you say, I would love the opportunity to, or I would appreciate the opportunity to, that makes me feel like, well, can't really say no to you because you told me that you would love the opportunity to, or that you would appreciate the opportunity to. And it's so much harder to turn down someone who is telling you how much they would appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. It is a lot easier to turn down somebody saying if you have the time to, or if you feel so inclined to, than it is to turn down someone who said I would love the opportunity to, or I would appreciate the opportunity to. And in addition to being confident, you want to be courteous. Be courteous of that person's time. Be courteous of the fact that they even answered and read your message. Like, let's be real. A lot of people on LinkedIn get hundreds and hundreds of messages. I'm one of those people. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by my LinkedIn message box. So when someone says a simple thank you, that goes a long way. It feels great, and it feels like that person really cares about my time. And you should always remember, no matter if it's a LinkedIn message, an email, or a reach out, or even a face-to-face, a confident and courteous person will always remain top of mind. So when you're reaching out, whether it's in person or virtually, be confident and be courteous. Before you even think about sending that LinkedIn message, stop for a second, read it. Ask yourself, would I answer this message? If your answer is no, do not send it, edit it, read it over again, and keep going through that process of understanding, does this message sound compelling? And does this message sound important? And does it sound like something that I would personally be moved by? If you say no to that, then just keep going through that process over and over again. And sometimes our own judgment isn't the best because we don't always read our own work very well. So if you still want to send it to a friend or a colleague or a peer or your manager, whoever you really, really respect their opinion, send it to them and let them know that you're reaching out to this person who you really want to connect with. Do you think this messaging is compelling? If they say no, go through that process again, taking notes of everything we discussed today, because I want to make sure that your messages get read on LinkedIn. As I said earlier in this video, I am a career coach, so if you have a LinkedIn profile and you're like, I don't even know if this is good, bad, whatever, I can absolutely help you with that, and you can schedule a LinkedIn profile review with me down below. Also, if you have a LinkedIn profile and you're just getting into the swing of creating a networking strategy, I love networking on LinkedIn. It is one of my specialties. So I'd be happy to help you create a strategy, which you can also learn more about down in the description box below by booking one-on-one time with me or emailing me at info@haylesconsulting.com. As usual, thank you all so much for watching. Appreciate you so much. And if you have LinkedIn tips on how you reach out to people or how you network or how you connect, let us know in the comments down below. Do not forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell so that you can be notified every single time I post a new video. Do not forget to like this video. Let me know all the new videos that you'd like to see coming up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.